There's a fine line when it comes to balance and opportunity. No job that's too small. There's no job that's too gross. Just be humble.
Like salespeople connecting with, like managers and like product
You don't want
development,
80% of your revenue coming from one client. We don't want to get into a business to have a job, right? That's not why
Nobody does. Nobody does.
And it's out there, and don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Don't be afraid to take risk.
All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. So what we got going on here welcome to Chase, you do the intro.
Bro, you're not good at this. Let me do this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here back.
Normal.
This is the Creator Legacy Podcast. We're very excited to bring on a very special guest. He's been our neighbors for like 20 years. He's been hiding, and that's okay. We pulled him out. We got him on here. Kendall, take it away. Tell us about yourself. Like, what is it that you do? What's going on, bro?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Real pleasure to be here in studio. And my name's Kendall, 30 years old, fresh, still have a big future ahead, a lot of things. Yeah.
Too fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. For the last year and a half, I've been a part of a company called Cal Gaskets. Got in as an operator with an ownership part owner as well. So it's been...
Do you get equity in that too?
Yeah, 10% equity.
10%. There you go.
Coming in, completely took over operations from the side of the installation. It's been quite a journey. Met people through networking, talking, and that's just led to opportunities. People see skill in you, see talent, and want you on their team. And something about the Bay Area is everybody's looking for the best team. Yeah. Everybody's looking for, the highest pool of talent, and just really showcasing skill. So I'm a father of two. I have a daughter who is 10 months old, have a son who's about to be 6. Yeah, so
busy times for
absolutely, sure. Definitely most important part of my life.
2 more, too?
Probably not. We'll go ahead and keep it at the cap. One starting school and then the other one we're restarting is kind of been a big journey also the last year, and balancing that with business. But that being said, I really appreciate you guys having me here. I look forward to the conversations that we have here on the Creative Legacy Podcast.
Yeah, definitely. We're looking forward to it. So how did you end up like where you're at? Because you got 10% equity. Like, how did you meet these guys? What's the story behind that?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So I was a private contractor for a while, did my own handyman business.
You were doing, just to circle back, you were doing Thumbtack, right? Not Thumbtack, you were doing...
platform I was on is known as TaskRabbit.
TaskRabbit.
Yeah, so I was officially a tasker.
Yeah.
Interesting thing about that, a lot of people don't know that it's owned by IKEA.
Really?
Absolutely. Yep. So so the parent company of TaskRabbit is IKEA.
Yeah.
So they heavy on furniture building, especially with their furniture as well. So you kind of have to work the algorithm and really play with the program to understand how to work your way up to get picked and chosen.
Is there a sorry, I got so many questions on TaskRabbit.
Yeah,
is there a good way to make yourself higher? And then is it something people, like, if they wanted to start somewhere working for themselves, like, is TaskRabbit, is there enough work on there, like, for you to get constant income?
If it's somewhere you want to start, I would say absolutely start there. Yeah. Just as anybody would recommend in business, you don't want to drop that 9 to 5 while you're starting your entrepreneurship. So I would definitely recommend not dropping your main income before going into your side hustle. But it absolutely is something that you can start your side hustle on. Low commitment. You make your own schedule.
Great.
And you also get to pick and choose your clients in the sense that your clients choose you based on your profile, based on your skills. But in the conversation that you have with that client, you can say, hey, this isn't for me, or this is for me. Whether it's pricing issue, over demand, or anything that may be there, you are in control of your own destiny. So I would absolutely recommend TaskRabbit to anybody looking to showcase their skills, whether it's handyman skills, drywall, if you have a pickup truck, you can use it for moving.
Dump too, right?
Dumping, absolutely. There's a lot of...
if you put together furniture.
Putting together furniture,
That's interesting.
Absolutely. It's...
So it's kind of like a Craigslist, but more for like contractor or handyman?
I would actually say it's much better than Craigslist. So Craigslist, you go on to that platform and there's a lot of uncertainty. There's some negative connotation with Craigslist, right?
Yeah.
There's the creeper side of things.
We can go into that.
Right.
I could go down a whole rabbit hole.
So as a tasker, I was background checked. There was a lot of things that went into the verification of me.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was slowly chipping away. Just like anything that you start, it's going to take one or two things. But once your ball starts rolling, that's when you're going to want to commit. And I worked my way up from, 26th ranked in the area all the way up to top 5.
Nice.
And then you leverage that against more business, more skills. And then once you really hone in and you can see what you're getting chosen and what people are picking you for, that's kind of what you want to stay focused on.
Okay.
So one thing that I was getting chosen on a lot was moving, because I have a pickup truck and I knew how to get a trailer and really just leverage my knowledge against the needs of people.
Yeah.
And then everything is seasonal as well. So there's moving season as you get into...
Is there?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
springtime, right?
Yeah, so spring and fall are 2 big moving. Kind of goes with the flow of school. People don't like to move in the middle of a school year.
Yeah.
People would rather... Right, so people would rather move at the end of spring going into summer, or in the beginning of fall. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot in TaskRabbit. And any questions that you guys have...
Is it like Uber? It sounds like Uber for handyman services.
Oh, that's a great way to put it, yeah. So, yep, there's a small percentage that TaskRabbit's going to take off the top end, but it doesn't come out of your pocket. It's fees that are charged to the end client.
Oh, I love it.
So, again, what you're getting agreed to pay, that's going straight to your pocket. And you have opportunity for tips, so there's extra income there. You have the ability to expense to the clients as well. So let's say it's a drywall job and they want you to go pick up the material. Oh, I'm going to expense my gas. I'm going to expense... Right. There's a lot of different aspects that you can throw on there to make sure that your bottom line is taken care of.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people starting off, when you want to scale yourself, it's a great place to start individually, because you need to understand what are the expenses that go into running a business. What is overhead? How do I manage overhead? Because you don't want to get into a position where you're underbidding yourself and you're just losing out. Yeah. So there's a fine line when it comes to balance and opportunity. Absolutely.
What would you recommend? Like, for say, like, you got a brand new guy. We know a lot of guys that like aren't making any money, right? So it's like, what would you recommend to someone that's like pretty handy and they want to get on TaskRabbit? What are some things you recommend so they can get those first couple clients? And I'm assuming it's based on reviews. It sounds like as you get reviews, you start moving up in rankings. So what would you recommend to people just getting started on TaskRabbit?
First step is signing up. So it is one of the few programs that is free to sign up, or very low cost. I think it's a $25 fee to pay for your background check and to get in. But you don't pay for leads. You don't pay a down payment for, as some you mentioned, Thumbtack. Yeah. I actually steered away from that, and not that it's not a good program, but I wasn't as committed to the full time, and I wasn't willing to put $200, $300 down on leads.
It does cost money.
Right. As when I knew that, hey, I had this program, and it is, like you said, you got to build your rapport. Getting reviews, just like anything. The stronger. The SEO is within the app, but you absolutely have to make sure that your bio is reading and
good copy.
Yeah, that your bio is connecting with people, right? People want to choose you. Your profile picture looks professional. Your skills, your experience, all of that is showcased. Yeah. So, and then...
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's say, are you allowed to like outsource the work, or you have to do it yourself if you get chosen?
Oh, great question. So everything has to be you, because you are the one who is authorized by TaskRabbit to do it. But TaskRabbit has a guarantee on both ends. So, in happenstance where, and that's the scary thing with contractors, right? Getting into a situation where you go into a contract and homeowner doesn't pay, and you're independent, you're not gonna, you're not gonna spend the thousands of dollars for a lawyer to go after somebody. Whereas TaskRabbit has a guarantee on both ends, where if I don't get the job done, they'll make sure to take care of the end client. Or if I don't get paid, they'll make sure to cover that payment as well. So there is process, and really peace of mind when it comes to some of the scarier aspects of diving into business on your own.
Yeah, I think that probably revolves around, if I had to guess, because like in California, the max you could pay a handyman for is $500 without a contract, without them being like a contract, right? Is it $500? No, 500 total. So you can only hire them for one job for $5. Yeah, that's California. No. In Georgia, it's like $2,000 or something. So I think the max on TaskRabbit is like 500, right? What you work out with a person once they get there is a different story. But we would never do that. But this is how I found Kendall. It is on TaskRabbit.
Yeah.
That's how we initially met. I brought him.
Oh, no way.
What was the first job I brought you in for?
You brought me in to finish a job that you had an outside contractor do that did not finish, and it was the bathroom, right? So you remember exactly.
These guys disappeared on me.
So yeah, there was a situation where Robert was in, really didn't want to. I mean, I don't know what landed you on TaskRabbit per se, but you had a need and you were looking on how to fix that.
Yeah.
And we met, we talked, I saw your issues. One thing that's great too is flexibility, right? So I think I came in the evening after your work, after my work, and it was just kind of easy. And then the beauty with that relationship that we developed was, hey, you did a great job here. I've got this and this. And that is where you want to go. And a lot of my clients, I'm in a new venture now, but a lot of my old clients, I still make sure, like, hey, if you've got my phone number, call me.
Yeah, exactly.
You might not be able to find me on TaskRabbit anymore, but yeah. So that is exactly how we met. And
if you treat people well on TaskRabbit, it's going to open up other opportunities like what you're doing now.
Correct.
You're starting for them on TaskRabbit too, right?
Yes. So yeah, most of my networking has been through TaskRabbit. And that is the beauty of...
Underrated. There's some underrated value right there.
Yes, networking.
Networking on TaskRabbit.
Yes, so just talking and getting with people. One of the owners hired me, and this is a wide range of opportunity. So I got hired, and be humble, right? There's no job that's too small. There's no job that's too gross. Just be humble, and if your skills and you're able to do it, just go do it. So particularly for a gentleman named Mike, he hired me to fix a leaking toilet, and then I also saw that his...
Started with shit.
That's right. And I also saw that his sink was dripping at the same time, so I said, hey, if you purchase this new faucet, I'll get that installed at the same time.
Okay.
You know, again, it goes back to solving people's needs. I think that's what I like to pride myself on.
Yeah.
People will find value in that all day, right? Yeah. And then what is that value worth, both to you and the client?
Yeah. So how did that materialize? Like, how did the next steps in that relationship materialize?
So, as in any conversation, I believe that truth and vulnerability is important. So on his end, he was kind of vulnerable with me about where he was with his business, that he knew he wanted to get an operator, a general manager to come in and just take over and own it. And in that, he was willing to, him and his partner were willing to give up 10% equity to go ahead and fill that void.
But how did that conversation started? Like, you came in, you did some work for them, and then next thing you know, bigger jobs, and next thing you know, hey, by the way, Kendall, we have this opportunity. Right? Well, how does that work? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so I was in the bathroom working, and he came in and was very interested, just as you guys are, about the platform of TaskRabbit and how did I materialize myself? How did I grow in that? What did I do? And I explained how I operated in the business, how I grew myself, and I think he saw the potential, and I was very honest with him and said, look, I am in no position to be given 60 hours a week to some new business. I'm not ready for a startup. I don't want to push that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I tell Rob all the time. I'm not ready, bro. Don't
it doesn't always take that much.
And
we're in scale mode.
And that's exactly what I was told. Hey, we're just looking for somebody part-time. Yeah. We're not looking at part-time money, but we just need somebody with a high dense skill that can just produce in that small amount of time. And that is opportunity for anybody, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then sometimes it's just connecting those pieces.
Yeah.
And then so you just moved forward from there and just worked it all out?
No, it was probably a few weeks, maybe a couple months. He leaned on me a couple times with some questions when it came to more handyman stuff, like, hey, what do you think about this broken tile that a client's asking me about? What do you think about solving this problem on this door? And I would just give a little insight. And then one day he said, you got to meet my business partner. And I went into the office, met the business partner.
Closed him.
And I was looking for somebody to close me. You know, I was like, you need to.
Rob, you got to close.
Yeah, you got to convince
I close
me.
all the time, bro.
And realizing that there was a relationship to be developed here, right? I enjoy where you guys are at. We have the same kind of vision when it comes to business. And when you realize that and you have a strong vision of where to go, it's very easy to just get the work done.
Yeah.
And one thing that was mentioned to me early on is the concept that Netflix uses, where you want all of the highest density, the greatest employees, but they all have the level of thinking as an owner, right? And not a lot of employees are going to have that. Not a lot of W-2, right, are going to think in that mindset of the overhead, like I mentioned. And now those were the skills that I learned being independent, doing things on my own, that I was able to bring to a company that is in the process of scaling, where, little things like optimization aren't as important, efficiency, we're not looking there. It's, hey, we're brute force, growing revenue, and I'm asking you to develop systems, asking you to develop processes, procedures, and then implementing that in a training module to employees as we grow this. That is going to be a very solid foundation. And when I came in, they used a lot of, trying to give you their background, they came from a tech company that was in
W-2s, right?
Yeah, they were W-2s working in a tech firm that developed solar fields and solar farms.
Yeah.
So one was a product development, right? Developing the products that were needed on the field, and the other was the product design, and the other one was the project manager that oversaw. So they worked hand in hand and saw that, hey, we can kind of do a business together. Let's look around and see what we can find.
Yeah.
And they've landed on a company called Cal Gaskets.
Cal Gaskets.
Yeah, that was a refrigeration gasket company, super niche market. But what they saw was the opportunity that the owner had developed, and the clients that he had, very big name brands like Safeway, Applebee's, the Cheesecake Factory, Costco, and understanding that he was a one-man operating crew, and they were going to take this, put their knowledge of technology, and really grow this thing to the day and age that we're at now. And
it's like the Cody Sanchez model. It's like find a business, find someone that's about to retire, right?
And that's
about to retire, getting rid of business. It's a successful business. Nobody wants it,
right?
But he's trying to sell it. It's already set up. You just need people. You need an operator. You need better systems and better revenue, and you can 3-4x your revenue. Because they were doing how much in revenue when they started?
They took it over. They took it over. I think at his peak year, about $750,000, so about 750.
Yeah.
And then as they took over and they did the process, they probably lost it a little bit. So last year, I think we were just around 700 or just right at the 750. So not much growth.
Okay.
But the processes and the program that they use, particularly they use a program called Notion.
Bro, I told you.
Hey, I would love that. It's another topic we'll dive into.
Don't go to that Notion. I hate Notion.
He's warming up. He's getting there.
So what I've learned with Notion is that it's everything that you put into it is what you're going to get out.
Yeah. And
the mind that he was able to do and putting the entire business into technology. I mean, this guy was running, three carbon copy papers. Yeah. Everything was in banker's boxes.
Makes sense.
And this guy was operating just out of, like you said, one-man operating crew, ready to retire.
Very typical, yeah.
So it really worked out in the sense that now that we have the technology implemented and we hired a salesman who is going into the account management, he's able to go backwards on some of the information and some of the technology, and it's becoming seamless, right? That is a very important aspect of any growth.
I was gonna ask you that. I was like how important is salespeople connecting with managers and product development, right? Because you gotta get that feedback. You know what I mean? So I think I told Rob once, I used to work with three very smart people. These guys are 18, 19, but they raise $30-40 million. You know? But the thing about them is they're obsessed with customers. They would literally listen to every phone call, that a salesperson does, so that they can reiterate their product. So every single day, like they're even now, like one of the founder, he started a new B2B business.
Yeah.
Right. And it just in less than 3 years, the valuation is almost 1.5 billion. You know what I mean? Why?
Good.
Because all he does is he's talking to the customers every single day.
Yep.
So that's why I wanted to like know, like, oh, okay, so you got this new sales guy, like how much does that person relay the information back to you for operations and product development and the owners?
Yeah. It's vital for me to meet with our salesmen twice, if not 3 times a week, just to go through conversation, go through dialogue, what's working, what's not working. And especially in a growth phase that we're in right now, that's the most important thing is feedback. And
Constantly
iterating,
essentially.
Right. Like let's, even if it doesn't work 1 or 2 times, that's not a time to pull out. It's a time to still push and see. And the only way you're going to know that is listening to your salesman. And it's interesting that you said that story, because one thing that resonates with me is Mark Cuban. When he took over the Dallas Mavericks, the first thing he did was put his desk in the middle of all of his salesmen and say, hey, we're going to call these ticket holders and we're going to sell seats. And I think that's exactly what he did, was listening to the salesman. What are they pitching? Okay, let's refine this. Let's retune that. Here's what I think we should do, and let's go for it. And then
he focused like 100% on revenue.
Correct.
Initially, and then he started building everything else.
Everything else will come down. So it's definitely been a phase where the ebbs and flows of any business as you grow. And one issue that I think the company had, that some companies may have, but as you start to develop and as you gain the big clients, you can't. Right, you don't want 80% of your revenue coming from one client, right? That was one of our biggest problems, was that a lot of revenue was coming from one client in particular. And they saw that problem, and it actually became interesting because it went from 80% and they grew it to 85%, but it wasn't because of lost business or not. It was saying, hey, how can we take this client and grow them and optimize that we have, get that set forth, and then grow the other side of the business. And one thing that we utilized before hiring the account manager was we had 2 virtual assistants overseas that were making a lot of these sales calls and just trying to get traction generated. And it wasn't.
Overseas sales is tough.
It's very tough. So we got rid of one of the VAs in the sense of sales, and kept the other VA who was good on the back end accounting, on the back end, just straight assistance, right? When you need small things done, hey, make a phone call here, send an email there. Because time is so valuable. There's nothing. Everybody's got the same 24 hours in a day, and how is one able to make 1.5 billion out of it, and how is another able to make $15 out of it?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the general, thought process behind really putting the eggs in the basket that is going to produce. And we actually hired the salesman in a real down time that we were in as far as revenue. Our big client was taking a few months to approve some work orders that we had in the process. And I tried to say, hey, it is time. We do need, at the same time that we fired one of our technicians just because they were not producing, at the same time that we hired a salesman to just push the sales, push revenue. And that was one thing that I make sure I sit down with the owners and sit down with my partners is say, hey, what is our focus right now? What is it that we're wanting to do? Because I find myself really logical, logistics, system processes, optimization. And when you're in a position of revenue growth and just focusing on new clients, it's okay that your margins are taking a hit. It's okay that you have some other expenses that you're not wanting to spend, or maybe in 5 years, that will all work itself out. So really getting on the same page with everybody, and again, that business vision is so important.
I think that's one thing I've seen a lot of people struggle with in like marketing, running SMAs and stuff, is because they try to stay small and then they try to use those same systems and people to try to take them to the next level. But in reality, what took you to your first level isn't going to take you to your second level.
Very true.
So you need to like start hiring people before, right? And your revenues, your profit margins, you're like, this sucks, right? It's uncomfortable, but then you bring in those people, you build more, and then you can start scaling.
Right. Because the goal, like we said, is 4x, 5x.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's why you got the business. We don't want to get into a business to have a job, right? That's not why.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
Right. You're wanting to.
Most people do, though.
And that's,
crazy enough.
Yeah. And I've seen that too. And it's opportunity, man. It's out there, and don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Don't be afraid to take risk. Some of us, to take risk doesn't cost money, right? It costs time. It costs some energy, right?
And, you have any sleepless nights? Or?
Oh, well, I've got 2 kids and a 10-month-old.
That too, for sure. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's been a few sleepless nights, and as far as worry and anxiety, through those down times of the company, I'm asking myself, man, am I bringing value? Am I? And those concerns, bring that to your partners. Talk about it. It's very important. That goes back to the vulnerability and the truth, right? You know, for me to say, hey, I'm seeing some things here. I'm a little uncomfortable with how this is going on. What is your vision? What is your understanding? And, you know, it's like, hey, we got this. You know, I actually don't have fear.
Kendall, sorry. So I wanted to ask you, so how important is vision? Like you have these 2 business partners, right? Like, do they constantly sell you and the team on the vision, or that's your job to sell it to them, or how does that work? Or because you keep saying vision, and I've heard so many business partner people talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so vital. It's like, instead of like working on the business, you know, you should be working on the vision, the values first.
Right.
Right. So I want to hear your take on that, because this is something that I've been intriguing, and then now I hear it. I'm like, now I'm curious now.
Yes, I think that is key. If you're not, vision is that's the visual, right? That's what you're all looking at. That's the goal that you're wanting to get to. And I think it absolutely is vital, and it is a conversation that I have with the owners that is to be reiterated down through me to the employees and to the team. Yeah, absolutely. And that isn't for me to interpret my own vision of what they're saying. It's to understand what their vision is, that we are all on the same page. Because at the end of the day, they're the investors, right? I'm giving my energy, I'm giving my time, I'm giving my hard work, but they're the ones that are putting the money up front. They're the ones that are maybe taking a sacrifice, on the back end of, you know, taking a lower check here, or being like, hey, profits aren't there, but that's not the vision, right? Is, hey, we want 10 grand in profit every month, so me and my partner can take 5 grand home. It's like, that's nowhere near where anybody's at. Our goal and our vision is to scale. And that is not easy for a lot of people to swallow. And that's not easy for many business owners to pay a lot of money for something and not make anything until the time is right. And vision can look at different ways, right? So I am not afraid to ask somebody, hey, what's your exit plan, right? Is your plan to sell? Is your plan for me to just take over and you guys take the profit at the end of the year? And that's what you guys are just silent partners at that point. And those are good conversations to have. There's nothing wrong with asking, what is your vision of getting rid of this thing, right? How do you, again, the exit plan.
What's your exit plan? Do you have an exit plan?
Yeah, it's a great question. If I can, we've asked ourselves a few times, like, do we just sell outright when the value gets there? Do we have a franchise model that makes sense? Do we just grow this thing and get other general managers like me in different satellite offices and set people up in different markets that we know are undervalued or underserved, and just scale and grow in new markets? Because a lot of our brands are national brands. And we've been working our way organically from, you know, a store level up to a regional level, and working our way to that national level. And that is one thing. So my vision would be a goal that I carry, and I've carried this for a long time, is any job I take or any position that I come into, I want to make whoever's above me, I should be making their job easier. I should be taking stuff off their plate. And then now they're able to look at that plate and say, okay, let's add this, let's add that. And that's their vision. That's what they want to do when it comes to their own personal growth, or if they want to invest money and innovation into this sector of the company, or some marketing or understanding, hey, we're going to test market Salt Lake City. We want to do this. And
because they don't have to focus on the operational side.
Correct. Right. So that's, or we've developed a system that can now be just plug and play in any market, in any system. So Yeah, I would say that is absolutely.
You didn't answer the question.
My exit plan is to run the business
Yeah.
and just take on an ownership role.
There you go.
Right.
Okay,
So
that makes
looking
sense.
at it from the top down, I want to be the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
Looking at it from the SE or the CEO aspect and just executive decisions, different levels of partnerships that I'd be looking at, and really looking and sitting down and telling these guys go away. Right. That's a good vision.
That makes it easier for a lot of owners too, and a lot of owners want that so they can focus, depending on the type of person they are. Some so they can focus on like friends and family, and then others so they can focus more on maybe starting something new or starting something venture.
Right.
Yeah. Like I know our long-term plan is like exit, right? Like exit and work on the next thing. Right?
Yeah.
Exit and work on the next thing. Me, I would just keep finding new things to work on. But yeah, I think everyone should have some sort of exit. Maybe that's why like a lot of small businesses really struggle, is because they don't really have any sort of plan. They're just like, I'm going to make money, and they don't really have any like, oh, once I hit this revenue number, or if I get an offer for this, then I'll exit.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because building's fun. I personally like it, but some people would just rather do the one thing.
Well, that just goes back to vision. Vision has an end point. Right.
Yeah.
It's got somewhere that you're getting towards, a goal that you're setting. And one thing to get back to the question too about the business vision is I'm now able to implement that into a sales vision. Hey, what do I want me and the salesman to focus on? And one thing that I had to tell myself and tell our salesman is like, hey, new prospects, it's okay for us not to focus on that.
Yeah.
I want to take our bread and butter and make it just so strong that we're not even worried about it. And then we can move on to new prospects.
Yeah.
So that was a work through with my sales team and making sure that we both understood this is what we want to do and this is how we're going to do it. And obviously I hired him for his talents, and it's like, hey, this is how are you going to get there now? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And is it
Also, you have him come up with a plan.
absolutely. Yeah. I think empowering people is important. So trust but verify is a big proponent of how my managing style is. Is I'm going to trust that you're going to do the job, but I'm going to verify that with our meetings, with our conversations, right, through different sales reports that I may be able to pull up, down all the way down to our operator or our operations team and our technicians. Is trust that they're going to do the job, but verify that they're doing it in the way that we're expecting.
Is your sales manager local to California?
Yeah. So he's actually out of the Modesto area,
Okay.
Which our home base is out of Hayward. So it's about a 50-mile difference, but we don't expect him to come into the office every day.
Okay.
So we have him come in about twice a week.
Yeah.
And we've slowly got him now to where he's creating his own schedule, making his own appointments.
Yeah.
Based on the training that we've given him. And that is slowly turning into now go in, do cold calls, go in, meet these clients.
Yeah.
So
How are you guys sourcing the clients currently?
that's a great question. So with our national brands that we have, or these name brands that we have, we're able to say, hey, it works for this store. Now we're going to do it for this store. So one particular that we've been working with is Costco's.
Yeah.
And Costco is a growing, just constantly growing. I mean,
that Japan one, it was like a 4-hour wait or something.
I mean, just in Napa, they opened one too, just over the weekend.
Thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, 4 days people were out there camping.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was absolutely.
Say what?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's Costco.
The funny thing with the Napa one in particular is it has the largest wine selection of any Costco.
Oh,
so it's a big deal. So one thing with Costco clients is they know where to get their liquor and wine, and that it's not always available
At
any location, right? So you gotta kind of know the game and play it on that end. But particularly with Costco, we work with probably 15 to 20% of the local Costcos. Goal of mine is to get that to 50%, and then obviously eventually as close to 100% as possible. But each warehouse is different in how they operate. So one thing that I've pushed for is understanding our clients.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to need. And once you create that need and understanding the need that you're able to service, then that's where the value comes in.
Yeah.
So we've kind of been able to take the knowledge that we've gained from each of these warehouses and tell them, hey, this is how we're going to do it. This is our system for you guys.
Yeah.
Does that work for you? And 90% of the time it's been like, yes.
Do it.
And then it's, who's our competitor? Understanding your competition is very important.
Okay.
So we don't have direct competitors as far as,
Yet.
well, as far as we manufacture our own gaskets.
Yes.
We do everything in-house.
Interesting concept.
It's absolutely fascinating when I
It's so
found
basic,
out.
dude.
It's super simple. Very hard to do. Don't get into gaskets. Don't get into seals.
Very
It's
difficult,
but our biggest competition, or who does the services that we provide, are refrigeration companies, and those technicians are extremely expensive.
Yeah.
They're all certified. So when we
Unnecessarily though, right?
right. When it comes to the gaskets and the seals,
Like you guys have your own certification, but the refrigeration people that are coming in, like they have all these extra stuff that you don't really need.
correct. When it comes to just the preventative maintenance aspect on that. So it is very interesting to know and understand that our competition currently, we can underbid them tremendously and actually provide a higher service, which is very rare, right?
Yeah.
You're usually focused on 3 points. You're either the best price, the best service, and I'm drawing a blank on the last one. You guys?
Best price, service, customer service.
Or customer.
Price, service, price. Why? It's escaping me at the moment. Price, service,
Speed?
No.
Speak back to service.
You're the best price, service.
You got it, guys. Hit it in the comments below.
I can't remember for the life of me.
Yeah.
It's gonna come to me randomly.
Right. So it is very interesting that we are in a unique position because we do everything in the house, that we are able to provide all three. Oh, quality of product.
There you go.
There it is. So we are able to provide a high quality. We're in very much control of it. We can provide a warranty that maybe some others can't. So price, service, and
I
quality.
don't know how I could miss that one.
Like, so
Like we provide the best service and quality, but we're not the cheapest, right?
right. So that's
But that's only possible, like I think Kendall said, is like niching down. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the problem with most new business owners, is that if they're trying to do everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, we're gonna revolutionize this whole thing. I'm like, bro, like, you can't do that. You can't compete with the big boys.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why niching down is just so important. I mean, you can later do that, right?
Yeah.
right.
But definitely, I think it's eye opening because like we're doing our online business, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same concept. You know what I mean? It's like, who are we trying to help? Are we trying to help a broad range of people, or just a small group of people who, like who has a vision, who wants to do something big? Okay, let us help those people.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, we do social media marketing. Who wants to do it? Obviously, everyone wants to do it, but can they afford it? Can they,
Right.
So
Yeah. So you have to niche down kind of like your market. I'm curious on, so for a period of time, I used to do corporate training.
Okay.
And there was this brief, probably stint, maybe a year or so, where I would reach out to like try to get like the big companies. So what are some strategies you've used to get a hold of like Costco's and to get a hold of different companies?
is this LinkedIn or
Is that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys might. I don't know if you might share.
Yeah.
Yeah, one approach we have taken is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Within our market, that doesn't quite work. We've learned
they don't
that.
use it. They're
Yeah,
warehouse
they're not
managers,
right. They're not as. It's that was a way that we thought of.
Yeah.
I would recommend going to LinkedIn and trying to develop networking on that platform. But the way that we knew and understood, if you're going after big fish, that's a slower game.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand that it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. You're not going to land these big fish tomorrow, whereas you can land some smaller fish tomorrow, right? So going back to the analogy of fishing, you take your small bait, you get a bigger fish, you use that to bait to get bigger fish, and then eventually one goal that I do have and I have been explaining is I want a whale. We want another whale. So right now Safeway is our biggest whale.
Yeah.
Costco is slowly moving to become a whale as well.
Nice.
But we're looking towards other national brands when it comes to. You want to take a pause?
No.
Oh, okay.
Go on. I'll say that.
All right. So when it comes to looking at the scalability and that aspect, you do need big fish, right? You need those whales, but those are the slower game. So when it comes to a salesman and the account manager, what we're able to do is have him focus, like I said, on the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of the business that is going to maintain the process. So one of us is able to go in and say, hey, we're able to look at a whale. We're able to sit down and make these meetings. Because it's not an overnight conversation to have. It's talking to this person who's going to lead you to a regional manager, who's going to lead you then to an executive or somebody who's making those big decisions when it comes to what we work with. So,
And how long have you? So let me ask you, how long have you been working with this business?
yeah, Cal Gaskets. My official start date was November 16th of 23.
Okay.
So I've been just under a year. But I met them back in September of last year. So the conversation has been there for a little over a year now. And it's been absolutely incredible as far as just working together. One of the owners did say, hey, I'm gonna take a step back from the business so I can focus on this because
Is he doing some different ventures or?
no, we had to find a situation, and this is something for people to understand too, right? In any partnership, it's okay if another partner needs to step away because maybe the revenue isn't there, the profits aren't there.
Yeah.
So again, do not risk your income to scale things, right? If you need to find another income because the business is not producing as much revenue or producing as much profits, as an owner, you're able to say, hey, I've put this into place, have a conversation with my partners and say, can you guys handle this stuff while I do this? And now you're able to say yes. And, one owner is able to take more money from the company to be able to provide for their family.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And the other partner is able to take a step away to do things until it's time to come back or it's time for. So what he's able to do is.
So like shifting the profit margins.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And
I never thought about that.
And that's
actually not bad.
And I think a lot of owners would look back and be like, oh, I'm a failure or my company's not doing well. But that's not the case at all. You can't allow yourself to personally fail as you're growing your company.
Yeah.
And so he was able to give more full time to something that's going to make him money. Yeah. And then he's now giving the part-time work because he's not as in the day-to-day when it comes to the operation.
And the equity doesn't change, but it's more just like the profit that you're
exactly.
bringing. That actually makes a lot of sense. I never thought about that with previous partnerships. Just sitting down talking like, you're distracted, you ain't got time, so why don't we just adjust the profit sharing?
Exactly. And it doesn't change the equity. It doesn't change the exit plan.
That makes a lot of
sense. But in the meantime, it is important. And that just goes back to vulnerability.
You should never, ever, ever, ever do 50-50. I always tell people that because there's always going to be one person that's going to do more work.
Right.
Whoever that is, right, is up to you. But it's probably like an ongoing shifting thing. Maybe like quarterly, or I guess you just kind of have those conversations as they come up.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think there's set meetings that we have, but it is. It's hey, talking about this. Like I said, there was times where I had to mention, hey, what's probably not really there. I'm smart enough to see the numbers. I can understand.
And you have an experience and background too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna have to dive into that next time though, because we're about out of time. So we are. We're just getting started. I know. That's why I said we could go like forever.
Right.
Absolutely.
Part 2 coming up.
Hey,
part 2.
I appreciate you guys.
We'll dive into
me.
his decorated background and his background in Florida and everything.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like kind of if people want to learn more about you, they kind of like have some questions, like the process, because you're technically doing everything right? You're working with someone, they like you, right? Now you're buying their ownership, right? Slowly, maybe in the future you might buy all of their shares. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like some people they want to get in business, but they don't know business, but they want to start a business, but that's not a good idea, right? They don't want to lose money. They want to buy a business as well, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the path that Kendall is doing is just amazing, right? This is like the right way. Okay, let me go in a little bit. So if people want to find out more about you, like where would they find you?
Great question. I am not big into social media.
Oh, no.
I'm not
social. Don't tell that to the marketing guys.
Right. But you can find me a part of Creative Legacy Network. I'm here with these guys. Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah. Find me.
We'll put your name on there. We'll sell them on the social media. Even though it's just basics.
I do recommend though people to promote themselves personally. I am on LinkedIn.
Okay, so we can find him on LinkedIn.
You can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram. It's going to be a dormant.
That hasn't posted in a year.
Right.
We can give you some strategies to it would require very little time. like maybe an hour a week, and then you can have all like your posts done for the month.
Yeah.
So very
Well,
simple stuff.
That's one thing. I mean, you said I'm doing everything right, but there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
There's always personal gain that I can find. And I look forward to learning more from you guys and gaining that knowledge.
Well, you have the experience of being an operations manager, essentially, right? Like kind of like VP of operations. So it's like there might be people that really are struggling with that, right? Like your small 1, 2, 3 person operations that they don't have an operator. So then they could reach out to you and be like, hey, Kendall, can you help me find a good operator and what that might look like?
Right.
I know it could be some opportunity.
That is, and
It's always opportunity.
Absolutely.
Too much opportunity. That's all.
Too much.
Yeah.
All right. We'll look up Kendall on Instagram or LinkedIn, and then we'll provide all his links there. And thanks for coming. Absolutely.
Thank you guys.